Today we will talk about the benefits of regular exercise. Okay, thank you. And then we will talk about the different types of exercise, the difference between them, and how they affect our blood glucose. We will define the term sedentary time, and we will know how it affects our health. And then we will give some recommendations about exercise and the sedentary time. And finally, we will give tips and strategies of how to help people overcome the barriers to exercise. Okay, here we have two terms that we need to distinguish between them: the physical activity and the exercise. So what's the difference between physical activity or exercise? A physical activity is any movement that you do with your body. Any contraction of muscles that leads to movement of your body is a physical activity. The difference between the physical activity and the exercise is that exercise is planned, structured, and always is repetitive, and it always has a goal or a target. Some people's goal is to lose weight, for some people to improve the physical fitness, for some people to control their blood sugar. So the exercise must be planned, structured, repetitive, and should have a goal. If we take a look at those two pictures, the picture on the left, we see this cute baby with his dad taking a walk in the beach. And on the right, we could see those two people running. So we could say that the picture on the left is just a regular physical activity. So apparently, this baby was not planning to take this walk beforehand, while the picture on the right is an exercise. That is obvious because those two people are already wearing their sportswear, their running shoes. They chose the location where they will run and the timing for the exercise. So I believe now we can differentiate between physical activity and exercise. What I will be talking about today through this session is the exercise, the regular, the frequent, the planned and structured physical activity. Yes, the normal physical activity that we do, we spend, there is energy expenditure, but to get the results that we need, the benefits, it's from the regular exercise. Very good. Okay, let's see the benefits of exercise. Exercise has many benefits. One of them is that it increases the heart wellness and the wellness of the respiratory system. It increases the strength, your body, your muscle mass, your strength, and it gives you more power. So everything that makes you feel exhausted today, by exercising tomorrow, it becomes very regular to you and very comfortable. Exercise increases the self-esteem, self-respect, the confidence. It relieves the stress and clears the thoughts. And as we all know, that COVID-19 has affected all of us differently, but because we were deprived from many social activities that we used to do to de-stress ourselves. We couldn't go out, meet our friends, get in touch with our friends and family. So this gave us a hard time. Exercise is a good way to de-stress and to overcome this obstacle that we are going through. Exercise improves the blood sugar levels for people who have diabetes or in pre-diabetes stage. And this is because it decreases the insulin resistance in our bodies and it increases the insulin sensitivity. And it also improves the fat control, the level of fats, especially the triglycerides in our body. And it helps to maintain the body weight. So as we see, we have many benefits from exercise. Let's see the types of exercises. We have the aerobic exercises. I believe that most of us know what the aerobic exercise is, and it's usually rhythmic and repeated, continuous. It's fun to do. It's not very exhausting, so we can do it for a long period of time, 45 to 60 minutes without being over exhausted. While the other group of exercises, this is harder. The anaerobic exercise is harder than the aerobic ones. It takes a lot of energy, and usually it's done shorter than the aerobic exercises, 20 to 30 minutes, because it's a continuous exercise. One of the examples of the anaerobic exercises that is most common now is the HIIT training, or the high intensity interval training. This consists of a high intensity bouts of exercise followed by periods of rest or low intensity exercise. It keeps on, it's continuous. For example, you run as hard as you can for 1 minute, and then you cool down, or you just jog for 40 seconds, and then you start running again as hard as you can for another minute. This, although it's very hectic, but it's very beneficial. It helps to burn fats and maintain the muscle mass and lose weight. We also have the resistance exercises. The resistance exercise is a brief repetitive exercises using weights or using the machines, or we can use our body weight. As you can see here, this person is using also the resistance band. It all help in building muscles. We also have the flexibility exercise, which increases the range of movement of our body, like stretching exercises, like yoga and meditation exercises. And lastly, we have the balance exercise, which is good for young and for adults, but it's more beneficial for elderly because it prevents them from the accidental falls. It maintains their posture and their walking. So it's very good for adults because most commonly adults, they might get injured by tripping or falling down. So as we have seen the exercises before, some of those exercises, they directly affect our blood sugar and can lower our blood glucose, while others do not have a direct effect. So I am going to show you the exercises. So which exercises do you think directly affect our blood glucose? We have resistance exercises, the balance exercises, aerobics, anaerobic, and flexibility exercises. Which one directly affect the level of blood glucose? Let's see the results. Yes, resistance exercises, yes, they do directly affect our blood glucose. The balance exercises do not affect our blood glucose, but it's recommended for elderly, especially people who's having diabetes. Aerobics exercises and anaerobic, they do affect our blood glucose. Surprisingly, the flexibility exercises, they do indirectly affect our blood glucose because they relieve the stress, and relieving the stress lowers the blood glucose indirectly. So we could say that flexibility exercises indirectly affects our blood glucose. Okay, sedentary time. Sedentary time means any time that we spend not sleeping but not doing any physical activity. Yes, it's the first question that I have asked you. Browsing or playing games in our mobile phones, watching TV, watching movies, sitting for long times, like working either from home or from office. This is all counted as sedentary time. So let's see, how does sedentary time affect our health? The prolonged sedentary time has been linked with increased cardiovascular disease and mortality, cancer risk, and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. So specifically for people with diabetes, it's even, the impact is more, because the prolonged sedentary time will increase the abdominal obesity, and this will lead to elevated blood pressure, higher fasting, triglycerides, and longer time spent in hyperglycemia, which is something that we don't want. People with diabetes, sometimes they fear the exercise because they fear the adverse effects like hypoglycemia that results from exercise, so they prefer not to exercise. But it was found that sedentary time, prolonged sedentary time for people with diabetes makes them at higher risk than exercising and the adverse effects of exercising. So let's always break the sedentary time with short walks or light resistance exercises, so we can make those risks offset. And my advice is that every 30 or 45 minutes, you can do some stretches while you are sitting at your office or at home, or laying down for watching TV or something. Every 30 to 45 minutes, do some stretching or light resistance exercises. Okay, let's see the two basic principles of exercise. So I want each one of us, before you start exercising, put in mind those two basic principles. Principle number one is overload, which means that the goal of any exercise is to give your body an overload, to make your body go beyond its resting state, to exert more energy, to feel overloaded, exhausted. And this is one of the main principles of exercise. So if you find an exercise too tiring for you, this doesn't mean that you should stop or do not do it again. No, because we exercise for this reason. The more you overload your body, the more your body will grow, and then it will pay you back. But if you don't overload it, then you will not get the payback. The next principle is progression, which means I'm going to improve my exercise. My exercise will not stay the same this week and after 2 weeks. We need to go into progression. We need to increase one of the 4 constituents of our exercise. The 4 constituents are, we can use the abbreviation FIT. So it's the frequency. If you exercise for 2 times a week, then you need to add up another day after 10 days or 2 weeks. And then there's going to be 3 days. And then after a while, you're going to give it another day. So we will progress in the frequency and in the intensity. If we start by very light exercises, then we are going to gradually increase the intensity of our exercise until we reach the moderate or the high intensity exercises. Our type of exercise needs changing, because if we keep on doing the same exercise, we might feel bored, and also our body might feel bored. So the muscles that we train might not give us the same response that we used to when we started. And finally, the time. So if you start by 10 minutes, then there should be an increase. And the recommendation is that every week there should be a 10% increase, right? It's required a minimum of 150 minutes per week of moderate to high intensity exercise. And this could be reached, achieved, and increased. Okay, how do I determine or know the intensity of the exercise that I am doing? If I am planning to exercise and I want to do a moderate exercise, for example, so how do I know that I am performing a moderate intensity exercise? There are many ways to know. I brought to you 2 easy ways. The first one is the talk sing method. So it simply says that if you are doing a light exercise, then you can start a conversation with someone else, someone next to you, and you can sing. That means that you're doing a very light exercise. Your breathing is normal. While when you do a moderate exercise, the person can talk but cannot sing. This is when you start, your breath rate starts to increase. So when you start to catch up your breath, then you might be able to talk, but you will not be able to sing. And if you are doing a high intensity or vigorous exercise, you will not be able either to talk or to sing. So this is a very simple method to determine how intense is your exercise. And the other one is called the target heart rate. This needs a little bit of calculations, and it's done like this. So if you subtract 220 minus your age, you will get something called the estimated maximum heart rate. That means according to your age, this is the maximum number of heart rates that you could reach. For example, if your age is 50, 220 minus 50, it's 170. That means that the maximum number of your heart rate is 170 beats per minute. But we don't want to reach that maximum heart rate. If you want to do a moderate exercise, you only need to reach 65 to 75% of this number. So let's take an example of someone who's aged 40. Then, sorry, there's a typo here. It's 220 minus 40. This equals 180. That's the estimated maximum heart rate. And then if you want to get the 65% of 180, it's 117 beats per minute. And 75% is 135 beats per minute. So if this person who's 40 years old, he wants to start a moderate exercise, we will advise him that his or her heart rate should be between 117 and 135 beats per minute. So you can use this equation to calculate your estimated maximum heart rate, and then you can determine how the range for you, according to your age, when you are having a moderate exercise. For example, if you go below 65%, that means, for instance, that you're doing a light exercise, and above 75%, this means that you are in a high intensity exercise. The golden rule for everyone who wants to start exercise is always start low and go slow. And take this seriously, because really you need to start low and go slow. As you start low and go slow, you will see and feel the changes in your body, and this is going to motivate you. You are not obliged to achieve the 150 minutes per week right away. You can start by 10 minutes per day and then increase the number gradually. The 150 minutes per week is, if you divide it into 5 days, it's 30 minutes per day. This is the required. So you could start by 10 minutes and then increase gradually till you reach the 30 minutes. So before we start exercising, we need to do some assessment, especially for people living with diabetes. If a person have no symptoms of coronary ischemia or any heart problems, it's okay to start moderate exercise. But for middle age or older people, they need to go a thorough assessment to evaluate the medical condition and give them the right exercise depending on their body structure and their age. For any person who have any symptoms of coronary ischemia, there must be done a resting ECG. And for people who have any complications, eye complications, they need to go through retinal check. And for sure, before starting an exercise, you need to do a foot check, because we don't want your feet to get ulcerated, and also a check for the shoes that you use during exercise. So in any exercise, we should go through 3 phases. The first phase is to warm up. Usually it takes 5 to 10 minutes. And this brings your body ready to go into the exercise. If you exercise, you focus on certain muscle or muscle group, then the warm-up should be focused to that muscle. So it's prepared to go into the exercise. And then we go into the main exercise. This period of the exercise differs from one person to another. And then we go, after we finish our exercise, we need to cool down to bring our body back to the relaxing stage. The cool down also takes 5 to 10 minutes, just like the warm-up. So generally, if you want to exercise, try to exercise in early morning or in the evenings, and try to avoid high temperatures and high humidity. Always keep with you, if you have diabetes, always your glucometer should be with you, because you will need to check before the exercise, during the exercise, and right after the exercise. Keep yourself hydrated by drinking 250 ml of water every 30 minutes if your exercise is taking longer than 30 minutes. So every 30 minutes you need to drink water. And for people who are using insulin, try to avoid the peak times, the peak action of that insulin, especially the rapid acting insulins. Their peak within 2 hours. So before starting an exercise, this is especially for people with diabetes, before starting the exercise, you need to check your blood glucose. If it's less than 90 milligram per deciliter, then it's way below the target. In this case, you need to ingest 10 to 20 grams of rapid acting carbohydrates. And we can take the dates, for example. It's a good example for the rapid acting carbohydrates. One date is 5 grams. So you will need 2 to 4 dates before starting exercise. If it's between 90 and 124, then you are near target. You might need to take less rapid acting carbohydrates, only 10 grams, which is two dates is enough. And if you are going through high intensity exercises, then you might not need to take the carbohydrates, because usually high intensity exercises, they bring your sugar up. From 124 to 180, this is the target. You can start without taking any carbohydrates. Above 180, from 180 to 273, then you could start aerobic exercises, but put in mind that your sugar will go up after the exercise or during the exercise. And for high intensity exercises, yes, your sugar may rise. If you check before the exercise and it's 273 or more than 273, most probably the exercise will be delayed. For people with type 1 diabetes, especially for type 1, you need to check the ketones. If it's 1 to 1.4 millimole per liter, then you can start very light intensity and very short exercise. And if it's more than 1.5 millimole per liter, then do not exercise. It's preferably to delay your exercise if your reading is more than 273. So let's see some strategies that will help us overcome the barriers to exercise. And I will ask you the last question here. Why don't we exercise? Why do you think we don't exercise? We have many reasons not to exercise. Okay, I just want to remind you that all the reasons that you see are common, collected data from many people. These were the common reasons why people usually do not exercise. Okay, let's see. I think we all share the same reasons why we do not exercise. And some people said they don't have the time, and many people said that exercise is boring, or there is no place to exercise, or it costs me money for subscription, for example, or membership in a gym. And some people don't have the energy, and the weather is not helping. That's a good excuse. And I might have a health issue that prevent me from exercising. So all these reasons, yeah, they do make sense. And but it's always a perceived cause for us not to exercise. Yes, we might not have time to exercise, but if you take 30 minutes, for example, checking your mobile, Then you have 30 minutes to exercise. We can spare some time for our exercise. And all those are barriers that prevents us from exercising, but we can find a way to overcome those barriers. And I will show you now how we can do that. First, we need a plan. We need to put an objective, a smart one, that is measurable and achievable and real, and here on time framed. And then we will see there is a difference between two objectives. One person said, I will start walking, and the other person said, I will walk for 10 minutes every day for 10 weeks. This one, the second one, is more specific, is more real, and he knows that what he's going to do exactly every day for the next 10 weeks. So we need to write down our objective before we start, and we need to write down also our progress. Every effort that you take, write it down, because it will always remind you how good you are doing. So if we write it down, for example, here we have this table. My goal is to walk for 10 minutes every day for 10 weeks. How am I going to achieve it? First thing to do, I'm going to spare 15 minutes break from my daily appointment book, because I will walk for 10 minutes. Are there obstacles that I might face? Yes, because if I finish my work and then I go back home to change my clothes, I might just feel lazy. I don't want to go out again. And this happens to me frequently. So how am I going to overcome this obstacle? I will just keep my sportswear with me in the car or at office. That makes it easier for me. Perhaps if I finish my work, the weather is nice, and I have plenty of time, I have the mood to do exercise, I will just go ahead. So this is how we are going to write down our objectives and the possible obstacles, and how we are going to be prepared if we face any of those obstacles. For the exercise, try to find a partner. Your husband, your wife, your neighbor, your friend, someone to encourage you, and you encourage him or her as well. This will ensure the continuity of the exercise. Choose something that you love, because if you choose something that you love, there is a low chance that you might feel bored, and there is a high chance that you will keep on doing it over and over again. Try to change your exercises, because if you keep on doing the same exercise, you might feel bored. Even if you take a walk, for example, and walking is one of the best exercises. It doesn't need any equipment, any location to do, it's not costly at all. You can do it anytime, and it's beneficial. So, for example, if you walk every day, try another road or another park, or a new location for you, so you don't feel bored from the same route that you keep on taking every day. And always discover new things. Go search on the internet about new sports or new exercises, and try new sports, because you might find yourself in one of those sports. You might love it. You did not know it before, and now you love it, and then you get along with it, and it opens a new door for you, and then you become physically active and loving what you are doing.